News 41 is brought to you by the Pahrump Nugget Hotel and Casino, located at the intersection of Route 372 and Highway 160 in the heart of Pahrump. You can call the Pahrump Nugget at 775-751-6500, or you can visit their website at www.pahrumpnugget.com. Pahrump's #1 media source for local news, weather, and sports, with Sowen Harris and Janet Arrett.
And good evening, Pahrump. It's Friday, October 8, 2010. Along with Janet Arrett, I'm Selwyn Harris for News 41. A slight change in format on this Friday. I am pleased to be joined by Nye County Sheriff Tony DeMeo, as well as Detective David Berukowitz from the Nye County Sheriff's Department. And there was a case in Las Vegas today involving Detective Berukowitz. And David, can you kind of explain what went on?
Sure. This morning in North Las Vegas court, Judge Bonaventure dismissed the charges that Robert Beckett had filed against me several months back.
I see. Kind of give us the backstory. I think most of us in town pretty much know what the situation was, but can you walk us through it if you would?
Sure. As a detective, I was assigned a case in which there were some concerns regarding some spending in the district attorney's office. During the course of that investigation, I determined that Robert Beckett may have misused the funds allowed to the district attorney's office. Upon establishing probable cause, I arrested Mr. Beckett, and subsequent to that, Mr. Beckett filed charges falsely against me for that arrest.
I see. I know still this is a sensitive issue, even though you have been exonerated, but do you think his filing charges against you was just a matter of a retaliation?
Absolutely, and like I said in the beginning of this, Mr. Beckett responded exactly like most criminals do when we arrest them. He just had a little bit more power in the position that he was in to do something different than they do.
I see. How do you feel about the judge's ruling? Obviously, you're happy about it, but you feel vindicated, no doubt.
I do. I feel very vindicated. However, like I said in the beginning, I have faith in the justice system that I serve, and today it played out the way it's supposed to.
I see. And Sheriff, you were there as well. Can you tell us your feelings?
Well, on behalf of Nye County Sheriff's Office, we're happy that the judge ruled and made that decision. We knew it was the right decision to make. We know the quality of work Detective Berukowitz has done. We knew about the investigations and every allegation that was made, and there was a political side to this, were unfounded. And what they were trying to do was make a political statement based upon criminal actions that had occurred. And so we supported David Berukowitz. I supported David Berukowitz. I know that there were times when some people said the best thing you can do is maybe distance yourself from the detective, but I wouldn't do that. Does a fantastic job for us as aldermen and women Nye County Sheriff's Office do. And you have to be there to support your people 100% when they're right. And he did the right job, and I support him 100% as I'm required to do for people that do their jobs lawfully. And one of the things about Detective Berukowitz, he's a very aggressive detective. He takes these investigations to the maximum, to the point of the logical conclusions of the investigations. And, people get concerned about that. And I'm sure the DA, I can't go into his mind, but I'm sure when the DA realized he knew his work, he knows work we do in the Sheriff's Office, and when he saw that the case that we had surmounted against him, and he started looking at some of these things, and he started to make some kind of political thing out of it, filing charges against Dave Berukowitz, not only for the arrest that Ted Berukowitz made against him, but also the arrest involving Ted Holmes and involving Scott Coble, I believe, his daughter, which I didn't know about until Mr. Coble brought that to the forefront, and if he denies that, that would be incorrect, because somebody that was the owner of the house told me that was who was getting his advice from, was from Trooper Coble. He did not know that we have the right to make through exigent circumstances, go into a house, which we got there as a disturbance call.
Right.
And when I looked at the call for service, when it came to my attention, it turned out there was narcotics and alcohol being served there, and that's why we called juvenile there, and that's why we got involved into the extent that we did.
I see. The timing, obviously, would be suspect in that particular case.
Political. I mean, you look at it from that way. It started to be in the primary,
Right.
And one of the bailiffs of the courts next to our office told me that they had political people that were involved in the sheriff's race, meeting with DA Bob Beckett in his office for a couple hours. And shortly thereafter, charges being filed against Detective Brookwitz for doing his job. And so we took a stand that we're going to support Detective Brookwitz. We're going to follow through with the investigation. And remember, the DA could not prosecute himself.
Right.
We went to the AG's office, and the AG's office came back to us and said, well, so we can't get involved in this because of the Brian Kunze works for the AG's office. He's a prosecutor for the AG's office, works in very close to the criminal side. And so we did the best we could to track down a special prosecutor. And what we did is the lawful thing. We went to the commissioners. They appointed a special prosecutor. And unfortunately, whether or not it was involving Detective Brookwitz or not, this was going to go to a special prosecutor.
Okay.
Based upon the charges that were being filed, the complexes of the case in itself. And so we were happy. The judge, Estes, appointed Peter Christensen.
Right.
And when he got appointed, he called me, and I asked him whatever he wanted, and we actually hand-delivered everything that we had in the case of all the cases, and I also gave him the files that we had on investigations we'd done within the sheriff's office involving this whole event, of all the events all put together. And we had faith, knowing the quality of work and knowing the inside of what was going on, that there eventually would be a dismissal of charges. But we had to go through the process.
Right.
Peter Christian had to investigate it. Investigators did come to our office, and they did talk to Detective Brookwitz, two of them actually, and questioned about what he did, looked at the documents we had. And what this dismissal does, it vindicates Detective Brookwitz.
Right.
That what he did involving all the events that he's being accused of by the DA, and of course he had the special prosecutors. I mean, how many times did they file charge against my detective? And then one was by a lawyer down in Las Vegas who, as soon as he's appointed special prosecutor, he files a bunch of charges against Detective Brookwitz.
Would that be Conrad Klaus?
That was Conrad Klaus. He says law is war, and I always thought that law was justice. Law is about justice, not about war. So we decided that, and quickly he backed off of these things. So I mean, it was very complex. And what was really sad about this, Selwyn, is that the citizens